Hi, I'm Jeanne Fiorini, and thanks for being here at the Tarot Tips. In the previous video, the March 2020 video, I referred to the Greek god Pan in connection to the COVID-19 pandemic and how the concept of Pan is connected to the Devil card and somewhat to the Fool card in the Tarot. So I thought that it would be a good opportunity for us to take a really close look at both of those cards. Today we'll start with the Devil card. The next video will be about the Fool card. Let me start off by saying that in this video, I'm not talking about the theological devil. I'm not talking about any religious construct about what the devil is. I'm going to be talking about it in terms of an archetype, in terms of a symbolic energy that every human in some way or another has to come to terms with. So as such, the devil in the tarot is, whenever it comes up on the table, I always say to my client, okay, this is the most complicated card in the deck. That's subjective, but to me it's not the most important or the worst or the best card. It's just the most complicated because it can mean so many things. But essentially, it's a symbol of where we feel like we don't have control, where something else is empowered and we are victimized. So let's just leave that at that for now. I have pulled cards from 6 different tarot decks, and we're going to look at different ways in which various decks, and I've picked decks which are intrinsically different in their perspective on things, but we'll be able to see how this archetypal notion of the devil comes through in each of these different interpretations of the tarot. So there's this sense of victimization from a larger person, force, energy that kind of keeps us painted in a corner. Another important aspect of the Devil card is that it's a card of illusion. What's the illusion under which I am operating? Part of the Devil's lure, if you want to say, is his idea, or the notion of this archetype, that the physical world is all that there is. Air, earth, fire, and water, what you can get with your physical body, how much money you can gather, how many toys you have, that's it. Don't look for anything further. Do what you can on those parameters and you'll be all set. Okay, so the illusion that the physical world is all that there is part of the illusion of the Devil card. And a third, a really important basic aspect of the Devil card is this idea about projected power. If I perceive that something or somebody else is in control of things, I'm also going to project blame. I'm also going to say, oh, it's their fault that things are so bad, or that my marriage is so terrible, or that I hate my job. You know, it's the economy, it's my boss, it's my spouse, it's my parents, whatever it is. All of that projected power equals projected blame. So some of these things are ideas that we're going to see throughout the various cards that I've pulled. But in the tarot, the Devil card is the first card in this section of the last 7 cards, Devil Through the World, which are about enlightenment and spiritual unfoldment. So the Devil is the first card which shows growing light. We see in pretty much every Devil card a spark of light, a flame, a torch with some fire. We see an open window sometimes, but there's always a hint that there's an escape, that there is power somewhere. So we're going to be looking at, okay, where does the Devil tell us that the illusion is that we have no control, and where are our choices? Where is our escape route? So with these thoughts in mind, okay, so you can see how it's a really convoluted, complex hall of mirrors with the Devil card. But we're going to look at 6 different devils from 6 different tarot decks. And I think by the end we'll have a good scope of where the Devil does his work. Okay, let's go to the tarot table. With the version of the Devil card that most people are probably familiar with, I use something that's connected to the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith Tarot. And here we see, I'm actually going to get that one a little closer. Let's move this down a little bit. That's a little better. Okay, here we see this male and female figure, which in the tarot always represents the opposites, the receptive principle, the lunar principle, and the masculine, dynamic, active principle, the two different aspects of each of us. So our patience and our action, we could say. So we can see that the female figure here has some grapes on her tail. She is somewhat contented here, but the flame is being put on the tail of the masculine figure. Essentially, Pan says, do I have your attention? I'm going to make it so hot for you, so uncomfortable for you, that you are going to either lapse into receptivity or take some action. I'm pretty sure that this pandemic has our attention. Just for this example, I want to point out, where's my Lovers card? I want to point out that the Devil is card 15, and as card 15 is numerologically connected to the Lovers card, card 6. 1 and 5 is 6. Look at the diagram here. Look how similar. Female, male, angel, female, male, Devil. Lovers card says you have choice, you have free will. The Devil card says, no, you don't. You are subject to certain things. Power of others, the material plane, rules and regulations, whatever it is. So just to make the connection between these two cards is an important thing. Lover's choice, Devil, no apparent choice, part of the illusion. Okay, so that's the Rider-Waite version. Really shows, and here's what I was talking about the light. The light is fairly small here. In the next card, we have the Tower card, where we have a lightning bolt. A little bit bigger, stronger light. But in this card, we're really being challenged. Here's the Devil card in the Mythic Tarot, which, maybe to be expected, shows us the Greek god Pan, the goat-footed god, who plays his pan flute there, and we dance. Okay, so it's got the same idea here of restraint, and something bigger than us is in charge, and this idea about something beyond our control is forcing certain moves in our life. Let's take a look at Crowley, who never does anything small, always shows things in a very complicated and descriptive way. Here again, we see the goat, the Capricorn goat. The Devil card in the tarot is associated with Capricorn. But if you think about what that is in the Northern Hemisphere, Capricorn is the sign in which the daylight begins to return. The winter solstice is the first day of Capricorn, and every day after that it gets incrementally lighter. So there's a nice correlation there between the light of consciousness, the light that Capricorn can bring, and this idea of the Devil card with potential for bringing awareness. So what we see with Crowley, no surprise, is a pretty specific image of male genitalia. We've got essentially testicles here, and this column, and the goat sits right there with a little bit of a smirk on his face, kind of blocking the flow of life, let's say. Again, we get this idea of Pan, a little bit of a playful energy, a little bit of a playful challenge to us. How long are you going to let me keep you stuck? So we see the blocked life force energy here. Let's point out the eye. Here you can see, I'll bring it up closer to the lens. If it isn't too blurry there. I guess it's going to be blurry. If you look up here, right above in his brow, in his 6th chakra area there, we have an eye. Now each of the major arcana cards has a connection to a Hebrew letter. And the Hebrew letter that's associated here is ayin, which means eye, E-Y-E. So the idea is, what are you seeing? What are you not seeing? What are your perceptions? How are your perceptions maybe a little bit blocked or not quite accurate or under an illusion? Here we have the Devil card in the Mother Peace Tarot. We see the hierarchy. We see one person in charge sitting at the top of the heap. And all of these other energies are in service to whoever is perceived as being on top. Okay, so we have very different worldviews here in these different tarot decks, but the idea of the Devil is so much about constraint. And how long are we going to let that keep us stuck? Okay, here's Connolly Tarot. Now the Connolly Tarot is really known as being fairly gentle in its transmission of the information. Connolly calls the Devil card materialism. So the constraint of the physical world. You know, we really are experiencing constraint in the physical world right now. We are under lockdown. Our physical bodies are challenged, potentially at risk. So this idea about materialism can be about how much stuff we think we have to have, toilet paper for instance, but also about the notion of preserving our physical well-being. And what will we do to preserve that? So we see the 4 elements on the corners here, and this person again chained, blocked here in Crowley, chained here in Rider-Waite. Puppets in the Mythic Tarot, puppets of Pan, we could say. Slaves to whoever was lucky enough to be born into kingship up here. Goodness, I'm sorry about that. Okay, the last one I would like to show is from the Morgan Greer Tarot. And he is really a great devil. We see all those aspects that we've been talking about. Here we see the candle. It's almost out, but it's still burning. We see, so this light, it isn't the biggest thing we see, although it does glow very brightly there. We see these eyes. He's looking directly at us, and many times in Devil cards we do see that. The Devil looking directly at us, challenging us. What are you going to do now? Kind of an idea. So we see this connection to the Hebrew letter, which has symbolism with what we are seeing, that ayin idea. A-Y-I-N is how you spell that. We see the notion of challenge here. We see the Capricorn horns, which when we see a similar thing in the High Priestess with these horns, sometimes we see cow horns. This is a symbol of regeneration. These curved horns like this spiraling, cycling horn. So the Devil really says, I have painted you in a corner. I have created a situation where you feel vulnerable and victimized. And where can you make a move? Where is your choice? Where is your power? Let's go back to the Devil card here in the traditional version. Okay, are we going to do this or are we going to do this? What actions can we take? What do we have to become aware of? What do we have to see differently whenever in our lives, whether it's a pandemic or a relationship that isn't working for us or a work situation that isn't working for us? How do we use our power effectively so that we feel like we have choice? Okay, so I'm going to put them all back out on the table together just to kind of, I think you can really see the consensus here about what the Devil card might be trying to communicate. Now I'm going to pull that back up so we can get everything in the frame. Okay, restriction with the potential for creativity. I'll just close with a quote from Goethe, he was a 19th century German writer and philosopher, who says, and it's not connected to the tarot, but just in general, he's talking philosophically, the devil is that power which would work only evil, but engenders good. So what is it that is really challenging but holds potential for us to build something better? Okay, we'll close with that. Thanks for being here. Stay well and stay safe. We'll see you next time.